see Mexico start to dominate like it did in boxing. And I'm a little excited about it, if you can't tell.
And as far as regulation, I mean, there's different bodies in Mexico. You self-regulate some shows. I mean, you had a...
The other thing, too, not to cut you off, I love Hispanic fighters. I love Hispanic fighters. The first day in the gym of The Ultimate Fighter, I've done this thing a million times, right? The look in these guys' eyes, the attitude that these guys had, I've never had a season like it. My goosebumps had goosebumps talking to these guys, talking to these fighters that are on the season of The Ultimate Fighter. This season is awesome. These kids are badasses. It's everything I expected it to be. So even having the knowledge now with this thing going on Televisa, and I know how good it is, and I know how tough these guys are. It's awesome. But I have to apologize to the Judge Hughes. I did get some misinformation. He didn't score the second fight 30-27 with the fighter from China. And yeah, I got a little crazy and I overstepped my bounds. It's not the first time, and hopefully that's the last time I'll ever do that. So yeah, I was wrong. No, it's all good, man. You guys can ask me whatever you want, you know that. I'm expecting it to do very well. You know, just the buzz down here, the response to The Ultimate Fighter has been unbelievable. So far, you know, our journey into Mexico is everything that I ever hoped it would be. Trust me, the first season of The Ultimate Fighter Brazil is very different from the first season of The Ultimate Fighter Mexico. Brazil is a country, you know, basically it's pretty much where mixed martial arts started, you know, from jiu-jitsu, Gracie jiu-jitsu to ballet tudo. But Mexico is different, man. Mexico is different. It has just a different vibe about fighting. You know, I've been dealing with lazy Americans for the last, you know, 10 years. You know, some guys come on, I don't know. These dudes are nothing like that. These guys were fired up to be there, couldn't wait to fight, and it was a completely different experience than any experience I've ever had with any of the Ultimate Fighters. This one's better. Yeah. I even had some, don't you remember my whole speech where I had to ask the guys if they wanted to fight and all this stuff? I didn't have to ask these guys if they wanted to fight. These guys came to fight. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. Again, I can't express enough my love of Latino fighters. I mean, they've been the baddest guys in the world since the beginning of time, and that's not going to change. And now with the exposure here to the UFC, you're just going to see so many more tough guys coming out of Mexico, breaking into the top 10, breaking into the top 5, and winning world titles. The network felt that having two athletes, which were women, on the show would be, you know, everywhere you go there's different, and we at the UFC can't have these blinders on that we know all the answers when we go into different markets, know what people like, and you guys have to understand, the hardcore MMA fans, they know everything. They know all the fighters, they know what they want to see and what they don't want to see, but we have to cater to everybody too. You know, we're on these big networks, we can't just cater to the hardcore MMA fans. They should just be happy that they're going to see fights, and they're going to get that reality show, and now all the big fights are going to happen down here in Mexico. Yeah, there might be a couple of things that they don't think, that they don't love, but hey, we're here. The best fights. I'm bringing Ronda down here for that fight. She's going to come down for
She's going to come here.
Oh, she'll be here for that fight, yeah. Ronda will be here. She's actually coming down here and shooting a commercial down here with Kane. For that fight. So she'll be here for the fight. I think a lot of the big UFC stars will be here for that first fight in Mexico. You know how it is. Every time we do our first fight somewhere, it's such a big event, everybody's going to be down here. Like my top 3. Obviously number 1 for us was a big one and meant everything to us, but this is my top 3 favorite season of The Ultimate Fighter ever. A lot of what fuels me is I like the attitude of the fighters, the guys who want to get in there and get after it. Exactly. And let me tell you what, when this season ends, you know me, I tell you straight up, if this season sucked, I'd be so depressed right now, it would be unbelievable. Season 19 in the United States. That's all I did was talk about how bad that season sucked. Fox wasn't happy about that. That I was talking about a horrible season. This season is awesome. I couldn't be happier. Women's MMA is growing faster than men's MMA did. I have not seen any. No, I have not seen any Mexican female fighters, but I expect to. Just like the men, I expect to see a lot of tough women coming out of this country. Do the women have the same opportunity? Oh my God. The women in the UFC right now is like the hottest, fastest growing thing there is. Yeah. I mean, you heard today the crowd. Do you want to see the women? I mean, the place went crazy. It wasn't like four guys going, oh yeah, all right, we'll see it. The place went crazy when we talked about the women. He was just asking me if Ronda Rousey's going to come fight down here. Yes, the women's side is, first of all, everybody knows I didn't love it in the beginning. And I didn't see this coming. Then I met Ronda and, you know, everything changed. But I'm blown away by how fast the women's, Aaron, you want to talk about, I mean, you want to get into this? Let's get into this. So, Ronda Rousey is a game changer in every way, shape, and form there is. First of all, if you look at women's sports, right? Women's sports were laughed at. The WNBA. Women's golf. Women started on a, you know, their tee has moved up closer than the men's. So it was never really taken that serious. Then you had even women's tennis, which men like women, but the women don't hit as hard as the men. Nobody ridicules women's fighting in mixed martial arts. And what's crazy is right now the Little League World Series is going on in the United States, right? So a team from Chicago, the south side of Chicago, a kid, a 13-year-old boy, he's one of the best baseball players in the country in the Little League, right? His name is Pierce Jones. I think that's Pierce Jones. And they asked him who his favorite athlete was. And he said Ronda Rousey, okay? A 13-year-old boy, African-American from the south side of Chicago, his favorite athlete is a white woman, okay? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's game-changing shit right there. Think about, right? I just saw this interview the other day with the old president of the United States, Jimmy Carter. And he said to this day, right now, today, the people, if you take everybody on the face of the earth, right, the segment of the population that is the most discriminated against are women. Still to this day, it's women. You know, in some countries it's okay to beat your wife. It's okay to, you know, in some countries they're not allowed to show their skin. In some countries they're not allowed to drive. And most countries around the world, women can be smarter than a man and work just as hard but not make as much money as they do. And the list goes on and on. And the thing about somebody like Ronda Rousey is there's never been a scenario in the history of the world where a woman could kick a man's ass. It's never been possible. Men are bigger, men are stronger. Well, let me tell you what, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, that fucking day has come. Woo. Ronda Rousey would walk through this room right now and kick the shit out of every one of you and then do it to me last. Because I'm a boss. It's here. The day has come where a woman can beat a man. Legit. So little girls are brought up and little girls are told, you can't play over here. You play over there. You can't do this and you can't do that. Not anymore. I mean, Brazil, yeah. I think the first episode was 10 million viewers in Brazil. But you're talking about a very educated country in Brazil. Everybody knows MMA. Everybody knows, you know, most of the people in that country have taken Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They understand everything about it. Coming into an uneducated, when I say uneducated about MMA, Mexico, to do 7 million viewers, that's unbelievable. It's coming in here, doing this first season of Tough and putting on the event, and that's really when the explosion starts. You start introducing this sport to lots of people in Mexico that have never seen it, that have never heard of it, don't know what it is. And anytime you have a sport like this, which really when you look at it, mixed martial arts is the new martial art. that people are taking all over the world. You're gonna have so many young people taking it. And everybody standing in front of me right now, because you're Hispanic, you know this. In the United States, it's a little bit, but everybody in this room knows when you were growing up, your parents or your uncles or your brothers had the big fights on TV. And that's the shit you remember for the rest of your life. When your family would gather around the TV and watch the big Julio Cesar Chavez fights or whatever, the Canelo fights that are happening. These type of fights are the things that you remember forever. These young kids that are gonna grow up now with their families watching these UFC fights, then they get involved in mixed martial arts. There's lots of money to be made. You can make, you become a world champion, you make millions of dollars, you travel the world, you become famous. You're gonna see tons of people now in this country, young people and people in their 18, 19, 20 starting to train and become mixed martial artists. So long term, it's gonna be to continue to, like we do in every country, educate, expand, bring the events to every major and small city around the entire country and down into South America.